Welcome to Show and Tell, the show where cool people tell us about the cool things that they do. Today, we have McCoy, a rock climbing expert extraordinaire. Why don't you come on down?
Hi.
Yeah, let's take a seat.
How's it going?
It is going good.
Good.
So we're first going to ask you, how did you get into indoor rock climbing?
That's a good question. Okay, so when I was actually like a senior in high school, my sister for some reason decided to do track like starting senior year of high school. And so I'm like, now I got to find a way to fill my time. And so I was like, what can I do? But like in one of our classes, it was called Lifetime Sports, I think. Yeah, so in Lifetime Sports, we went around and we did like, we kind of toured a bunch of different facilities and like saw different kinds of sports. So there was like bowling, ice skating, all kinds of stuff. And then one time we went to a rock climbing gym, and you wouldn't think that there was a rock climbing gym in Helena, Montana. It's tiny, like half of Corvallis, like that tiny. But surprisingly there was, and I think it was because there was one guy that moved here, and his dad was like, my son's really into climbing, but there isn't a climbing gym in Montana. I should build a climbing gym, like a whole climbing gym. And so that's the reason why we have it. But anyway, I ended up there and I really enjoy it. I went once, and then I think I've been going, like, obviously took some breaks, but like very consistently ever since.
Been obsessed.
Obsessed. That was it for me.
You've been climbing for a couple of years?
Yeah, I have. I think it's coming up on, I think it'll be 2 years in like March, April-ish. Yeah.
Nice.
I know.
Well, that's so great to learn about. And we actually followed you into the climbing gym recently to take a look at some of the action and take a little sneak peek. So we are going to take a look at that in just a second. Let's roll the clip.
Stretching. I should do more, but I always like to down climb when I warm up also, because I think it's important to kind of get your fingers stretched out that way.
Yeah, I've learned you can't hesitate either. The longer you hang off that wall, the harder it gets. Yeah.
I always struggle with that part. I like this pink one because it's fairly within my range, but it's still kind of a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but I don't know. You're not supposed to jump down either because it's bad for your knees, but I like it, it's fun.
That was a good go.
That's the part I always fall on, because it's got this gnarly little like it's like a crimp, but it's flipped around the other way. And then that foot chip is just like so slopey. The voting ones are interesting because it's kind of a more fair rating of what the grade is. A lot of people say, I don't know, a lot of people say McAlexander is kind of sandbagged or like harder than maybe it would be otherwise, but I don't know. Are you ready, John? Not quite.
Wow, that was so impressive. And you really showed those rocks who's boss. Would you mind explaining a little bit more about some of like the lingo or maybe some of the etiquette of rock climbing?
Absolutely. Okay, so first, the thing that I kind of said last was talking about like sandbagging. I was trying to not be controversial in the video, but because like when they have, okay, so each climb, especially, well, like all climbs have grades, but with bouldering, the scale goes from V0 up to like, I don't know, it can go up to like V14, honestly, but I'm not climbing anywhere in that range. The max I go is like a V6. But like with those, what sandbag means is if there's a climb and it's harder than what it's rated as, so it hurts your ego. And okay, and so like the voting is supposed to be more fair, but then what happens is some of the like very good climbers are climbing the ones that are a little lower than maybe what they should be climbing, and then they rate it really easy when it's actually a harder climb. So everybody complains about that. Mac is like notoriously, McAlexander Fieldhouse, which is the climbing thing, notoriously sandbagged. Yeah.
Lots of talented climbing bros.
Absolutely.
Making the really hard routes look easy.
Oh yeah, another thing that is great about the gym bros is when it comes to climbing etiquette, because there's one thing called, okay, so like the way that you're supposed to do a route, or like kind of the tips on how to do a route, that's called beta. And when you're if someone's climbing and you're standing on the ground yelling what to do with them, like on the wall, that's called beta spraying. Generally not a good idea. People don't enjoy it, actually. Gym bros do this a lot. Boulder bros that have been climbing for like a couple months and they've got that maybe level of like brute strength, and so they just like, they can power through some of the like lower ones. That's an etiquette thing that they miss out on a little bit. Ooh, what's another one? Well, you're not supposed to climb under anybody. And then, ooh, another one, this one's fun. So what campusing is when you do a route with just your hands, so like no feet. It's notoriously kind of a douchey thing to do, and people will go up and like do the one that you're projecting, that you're working on, they'll go up and do it just campusing, and I'm like, huh, this is horrible.
Makes you feel really good
Makes
about
me
what
feel
you're doing.
so good about myself.
Really confident and good.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
absolutely, yeah. That's another etiquette thing that you need to be aware of. What's another one? I don't know. Those are the main ones, I think. Mm-hmm.
And I know you have some some materials, some props to show us about climbing.
I do. I have some gear. Okay, so I brought my climbing shoes. So these ones, well, these are not mine actually. They're my sister's. They look a lot nicer than mine because she just got new ones. But these ones, they have kind of a nice like curve to them. And they've got pointy toes, and what that means is that you can get kind of a better, like if my knee is the hold, you get a better like angle or like a better grip on the hold. Not necessary. A lot of people climb in Vans, but I wouldn't recommend it personally.
And the bottoms are like really flat and hard, right?
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. They have like a real solid rubber on it. Because I don't know, softer rubber though, like they'll make some shoes that have softer rubber, and you can get like more in touch with the holds. You can be one with the holds.
Be one.
I like more support personally. And then there's also, so the type of climbing that was shown in the video, that's bouldering, right? So then you don't have any ropes attached with that. But the other type that I do and have tried is called top roping. So that's when you see like the huge, like the big wall, and you have like a rope that goes all the way to the top and then comes back down to the bottom, right? So you need two people for that. One person that's belaying, right, holding the rope, and the other person that's climbing. So like for like the belaying, you have your locking carabiner, and this attaches to your harness, and then this will also attach to your belay device, right? And then the rope will kind of go through here, right? And then that's how you belay. Also happy crabs. You need to make sure that your carabiner is locked. Makes a little
Makes
sound.
a good clicking sound. Good happy crab sound.
Very satisfying, honestly.
Nice.
That's all the gear I have with me. I have a gree also, which is like another type of belaying device, but I left it at home. What a bummer.
Can't see it today.
Literally, I don't know how to use it anyway.
We just like that one. We just know how to use that one.
Literally, I like it. It's fun. I've also been told to show you the calluses on the back of my knuckles.
Ooh.
I know.
How do you get calluses on the back of your hands?
Dude, I don't know. I think
That's
it's
kind of
'cause-
crazy. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just like grinding them down the wall, like cheese grating them down.
Oh.
It feels
Not only
like
visual.
That. I think you're welcome, everyone, for the visual. No, because like with there's a type of hold called like crimps, which are like tiny holds with a flat edge on top. Those are my favorite. I love a crimp. But like when you're doing that, your knuckles are like against the wall kind of. And so if you like miss it, you just scrape down.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like another good visual actually.
Yeah, very, very gnarly visual.
Literally, I know.
Well, any final little pieces of climbing tips that you want to tell us about?
I don't know. One weird thing is that some people say you should grind down your calluses if they get too big, because then they peel like if you rip them. Yeah.
Oh, really? Do you get more injured? Like,
Yeah.
it's probably bad to get injuries on your hands when you're trying to climb up stuff.
Yeah,
Not fun.
that's when you see those like crazy climbers and they have like each joint on their finger taped. It's like, oh, you know you're doing something serious if you've got every single part of your hand taped.
Yeah, you've been climbing.
You've been climbing.
You've been really, really going for it.
Literally. I know. I used to have tape, but then you leave it in your bag and it gets all chalked up because you use
Gross.
chalk when you're climbing, obviously. But yeah, it just gets gross and hairy. And nobody ever has like a knife or scissors. It's horrible.
Well, it was so great to learn a little bit more about rock climbing today, and it was great to have you on the show today,
Thank
McCoy.
you.
We are going to take a quick break, and then afterwards, we'll be joined by an amazing painter, Avery. So thank you so much.
All right, we go live in 5, 4.
Ready, camera 2. And wipe it.
Welcome to KBVR TV. Come join our team.
One thing I really love about my job is I get to work with a lot of different people and have a lot of fun with them.
Oh man, the bullpen, it's honestly my second home. It's always like something's going on here, it's always music playing, but at the same time, it's like that one big family feel here. So yeah, that's what the bullpen means to me.
It's a place where we like to foster a lot of our community, where you get to know people really well, a place to hang out.
What I like about Omen in general is just like, it's just like the community aspect.
It's just such a fun place to work. I always like to say it's the best job on campus.
It's like the one place like where like you could be like radio, work for a magazine publication, you can do everything and like it's kind of accepted and normalized. So yeah.
It's just so much fun. I can't stress that enough.
Why not work here? It's a really cool place to be.
Welcome back to Show and Tell. And now for our next guest, we have a fantastic painter coming on. Avery, why don't you come on down?
Hi, good to be here.
It's nice to have you.
Yeah.
So to start off, we're gonna ask a little bit about how'd you get into painting and what kind of painting do you sort of like to do?
Yeah, so I've been drawing for a long time. I was always a kid drawing in class, and recently, I'd say like in the COVID years, I had a lot more time to explore painting and get more supplies. So I started with acrylic, and I started with very small like landscape paintings, and I worked my way up to watercolor, which is now my favorite medium, I'd say. And then eventually got into gouache, which is a lot of my current artworks are with gouache and watercolor. So not so much acrylic anymore, though.
Great. And what are maybe a little bit of the difference between like watercolor and gouache? Because I've definitely seen them before, but I don't know how to discern.
Yeah, so there's a lot of differences between the opaqueness of gouache, and then watercolor is mostly just pigments and then some, what do you call it, solute. So Arabic gum is one of them. I use actually some mediums to make my own watercolors, which is cool. But gouache is usually a thicker, more opaque kind of medium. And it's actually not used to be a painting medium. It was mostly meant to be a sketching, like pre-creation medium instead of a full piece. And it's also hard to preserve, so that would make sense why it's a little bit more difficult than acrylic.
Very cool. So we actually have some of your paintings here with us today, and we are gonna take a look at them, and you're gonna tell us a little bit more about each of them.
Lovely, yeah. So here's one of my paintings that is gouache and watercolor. So a lot of the gouache is in the background. It creates this heavy, saturated look. And then the watercolor is a lot of the shading and the gradients in the face and the colors of the collarbones. And so this one I'd call Expired Eye. The reference for it is actually my own face, which I think was pretty sick. And I like to make the eyes kind of creepy because it turns it into something more otherworldly. And I use a lot of SeaWorld kind of references with this one as well. So yeah, I think the eyes and the saturation are what my favorite parts are about this piece, I'd say.
Yeah, and the colors really, really pop.
Yeah, exactly. I really love just saturating all the paint onto the paper. So let's see, here's another watercolor piece of mine. I don't remember what the name is here, but this one I also love because of the saturated colors, and I used a lot of emotion in this piece. This is clearly a little bit of a sad piece. It's a woman crying, and the forest floor becomes, grows out of her tears, and the plants are growing from that. And it's about change and going through that grief of losing something. And I was just really proud of this one because it's very saturated and also really colorful, but I used a different reference for this one, and I was proud of that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, the colors are really, really pop. I really like the reds and how they flow into the blues and greens.
It's my trusty watercolor palette that I use every time. So this is a different medium. This is actually house paint and acrylic, so I used a few different mediums. And this is a mural that I painted on my family's shop using some paints from an old mural that I did at my high school. And this one is also clearly inspired by a lot of nature themes. I've got mushrooms, and painting the grass was really fun to do. And I also like to use a lot of yellow in my paintings, so you'll see like the yellow pop out here where the sun is shining and in the clouds, and that's probably my favorite color to use as an accent to my paintings.
And then have you painted a lot of murals or just like something to try out?
Just something to try out. I painted one before, and it was really fun, and I had a lot of a good time with it, and so I used those leftover paints for these. But I'd love to try another one if I have a space. It's just tough to find a space, so that's the main issue.
So anyone looking for a mural?
I know, seriously, Corvallis, I would totally take you up on that. I just want to paint, just want to put paint everywhere. So that's my goal, honestly. But yeah. And then this one is a drawing. It's not a painting. This was just using supplies that I had over the summer because I was traveling a little bit. And it's Sharpie and colored pencils. So I don't know, I like to use extreme proportions in a lot of my art, as you can see with this painting. I call this one Cherry Sigh. I'm also into the theme of cherries right now and lots of deep red colors. But yeah.
Yeah, I really like those sort of exaggerated proportions. It makes it really pop and stand out. It's something you don't see a lot.
Yeah, I love doing this. It makes it a little creepy, a little cool, so yeah. Oh, and there's one last here. This one is also watercolor, no gouache for this one actually. It's a good example of how I like to saturate my paints, and I use the same watercolor palette every time. It has a lot of good reds and yellows. And so you can see the reds popping out in like the eyes. And it's also a very emotional piece. You can see a lot of nature themes and human relationship themes in this one.
Man, I wish I was artistic like that. Do you think maybe you could show me some great tips to sort of paint like how you can paint?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the good thing about art is that it's open to any kind of exploration, and it's very flexible. So if you want to flip your sheet there, grab some markers here. We don't have any paints, unfortunately. Let's see. Let's start with some light colors. So maybe a pink.
Got it.
Lovely. Okay. So for today, we're going to be drawing faces because we have some perfect references right here. It's very easy. And a lot of times people get really freaked out drawing faces or just drawing big references in general because it's hard to know where to start. You got art block and it's just intimidating. So what I like to do first, your first step always, if you have the time and you have the freedom, I just say write on the paper, just make a general shape. So that's what I'm gonna do here, and you can just copy me. So I'm gonna be drawing you and you have maybe a circular head. I'm just gonna draw a circle. That's perfect.
Awesome.
Lovely.
Circle.
We did it. Okay, so that would be our first layer, and that's easy. It gets you started, gets you going on the paper. I usually go up in like opacity in my colors. So I just started with a light pink. I might go up to like a soft red, or let's see, you can use a green here if you like.
Awesome.
Perfect. Love that. All right. So the next step in a lot of these layered drawings is to get the geometrics, the reference points. So for you, I'd probably use a reference point of right above your head. Oops. Let's get the best side of the marker here. Perfect. So I'm just going to draw a line. That's perfect. Oh, this one's a dead marker. That's okay. So you can choose a reference point on my face. I'd say like maybe the top of my beanie, or it could be the chin, or even the shoulders. That's a good solid one to start with.
All right. I think we're ideally going for the top of the beanie, but we'll see.
Yes, love that. Easy stuff. And then the next reference point for you, I'd say, is probably the bottom of the bangs, maybe. So keep it simple. That's just drawing where you're going to reference the rest of your drawing on.
Sweet.
Lovely. Yep, we got the beanie end there. Perfect.
Yep.
So after we get a few reference points, we can start adding a little bit of detail. So for your hair, I'd say you have like a very voluptuous hairstyle. So I'm going to draw that a little bit.
Appreciate.
Yeah, perfect. So it does not have to be perfect at this stage. You just start with a general shape of what it looks like.
Awesome.
So yeah, for the beanie, you might just do a circular, like a little half circle around that reference point.
Yeah, and then maybe, do we want to take a darker color soon? Or?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd say we can do one more thing with that green, and then we can go to a heavier color.
I don't know if I'm...
Yeah, just feel free to put marks on paper. Don't stress about it.
Okay. I'm feeling stressed.
Okay.
I feel like everyone can feel that.
Remember what Bob Ross says? He says, what does he say? Happy mistakes.
Happy accidents.
Happy
something
accidents.
like that.
Something like that. So we're just going to be in that mindset right now and be Bob Ross. So here's your next color.
Awesome.
We're going to use some darker colors to get some new layers. So for this one, I've got the general shape. I'm going to create more reference points where we've got the bangs end there, and maybe the cheekbones as well. We see that? Perfect. And then the chin. And I like to start with either lines or just dots where you see facial features. So I'd say the eyes are probably there. Mouth is maybe there. Nose. So you can do similar for mine.
Oh, so now we're doing the art thing. You draw the line in the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. It's overrated, but it's not at the same time.
So you should draw the lines. It's important.
Exactly. The lines are important. Yeah. Reference points are good to have. Yes. Lovely. Okay.
Got it. Sick.
Looking good. Okay. Lovely.
Looking real good.
So next we can start adding a little bit of facial features, a little bit of detail. So I know that the eyes are going to be on this line somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect again. Usually we'd start with maybe a lighter color so we can go up in opacity. But just for this one, just general eye shapes here. And you can copy my reference. Whatever you see, just copy down. So the nose might be just a random shape, really. Perfect. And then the mouth. Nice. Yep, don't stress about it. You just put stuff down on paper.
Oh God.
Okay.
Oh no.
No stressing. Happy accidents. It's okay.
Just like Bob.
Just
All
like
right.
Bob, we got this.
Honestly, not bad.
Honestly,
kind of impressed.
That's pretty sick. That
Not
looks
bad.
really good.
You're kind of teaching real well. I'm
Actually,
gonna be real.
this is great. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so you can add more detail, get some more colors. So for this one, I might add more detail to the eyes, for example. Oh, that made you look really old. I'm sorry. My bad.
Old, sleep deprived.
Yeah,
you know.
as we all are, college
yeah.
kids. It's okay. We can relate. Maybe add some. You got some curls, so I can add those a little bit. I guess I don't really have the same like hair volume to add, but you can add earrings maybe, or like the bottom of my ears, tip of like my collarbones, just reference points.
Okay, sorry guys. Really thinking. Really thinking.
Happy accidents, happy accidents. Lovely.
Have a vision. Working on it. I can see it. I can see it.
I love it. Yeah, I can tell you're not stressing about it as much anymore, so that's a plus. Lovely.
Where do ears go? This is a hard
You
question.
can guess. I mean, art is flexible. It's all subjective. Nice.
Boop.
Yeah,
Awesome.
some solid ears there. Lovely.
Killer.
All right, so once we get to that, we're gonna add some more details. So we've got the basic outline. I'd say like one thing I forgot is like eyebrows. That's pretty basic. So we know where that is because we have the reference point of the eyes. Just scribble it on there, that's close enough. Yeah, perfect. And I'm gonna add ears, and then we've got the rest of the face to fill in eventually. Maybe you can go to the neck. You just go farther down using your reference points. Nice. Perfect. And then for another reference point, I might use your shirt. Like you can use these folds as a geometric kind of shape because I see like they're triangle shaped collars a bit. So I might just make a cute little, triangle there. Does not have to be perfect. And in painting, what you can do is draw all of this out with a very light color and then go over it in the end once you have your big, like messy draft. And color in and block out, like I'd block out your hair brown here, and I'd block out the eyes to not be so scribbly. And so it just starts really messy. It starts kind of scary, but it's just like putting stuff on the page. It does not have to be perfect.
All about layering.
Exactly, it's all about the layers. You can just keep adding more. And do you have any questions about other layers or references you might want to use?
What's your one biggest piece of art advice, your biggest takeaway?
From all my years as a
All of your years as
19-year-old.
art, yeah.
I'd say my biggest piece of advice is to, I guess I've said this a few times, but just to put stuff down on the paper. Like art literally has no bounds. There's nothing that you can't make into art. And so you can use your personal life and your personal inspirations to create art. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to fit into other standards. It's just putting stuff down. It's just art. So.
Well, I think that is some great advice. And I honestly, we're gonna admire the art for a second. I think they turned out kind of good. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm gonna be honest.
Lovely. Bob Ross would be proud.
Yeah, he would be so proud. Pretty pleased.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much, Avery, for teaching us today about a little bit more how to draw and to just get started. And I think that is about all of the time we have. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And that's all the time we have today. So thank you to McCoy and to Avery for sharing your insane talents. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.